Welcome back to the next episode of the Investor Army podcast. Guys, lately a lot of questions have been coming in about lease options, specifically here in Texas. Can you do them or can you not? So I went out there into the market and found the best individual that I could to teach you about lease options. So why not have the king of lease options himself, John Jackson, come on here and tell you about this strategy to see if it's good for you in your market. John, how are you doing?
Connor, what's up, man?
Man, it's good to see you. It's been a while, but
good to see you. We met it's been a few years since we met, I guess.
Yep. So guys, if you don't know who John is, he's the king of lease options. And this is a strategy here in Texas where I'm from, which a lot of you are listening from right now, that we're told that we can't do the strategy. I'm going to let him introduce himself here a little bit and talk about what he does. And then we're going to kind of dig in to the lease option strategy in detail today to help you out with your business. So John, kind of tell him how you got into real estate and why you kind of gravitated towards the lease option strategy.
Yeah, I got into real estate back in I guess I started studying it, I should say, in 02. And my background was day trading. So I was a stay-at-home day trader and options trader. And I wanted to get into real estate. And with real estate, it's like the stock market where there's, 15, 20, 30 different ways to make money. And everybody makes money a little bit differently. And so I knew I had to find a strategy that fit me, my personality, my risk, look at risk assessment, everything. And so I looked at rentals, and I wasn't that crazy about, having to go get a loan for a house because I didn't know anything about real estate. But I wasn't crazy about the whole rental thing and maybe trying to make $100 a month in cash flow, and then have something break. So I didn't want to do the fix and flip. I'd totally redone the first place I ever lived in with my wife at the time. An old townhouse, and totally did it from the studs up, and I didn't enjoy that, that wasn't my thing. So I wasn't crazy about the fix and flip, this and that. And every now and then I'd read a little blurb about lease options. A little blurb, and the blurbs were essentially the same, which is it's an easy way to make money with no money down, easy way to make money. It's a great way to rip people off, and they'll never buy, and you kick them out, and then you do it all over again.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I know that's what Connor does. I want to do something different. No, I thought I want to do something. I understand options.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of no money, no credit, no anything. But I knew that if you structured it properly, that you could set it up so that people could actually get financing. And so that's where I started leasing to buy because I didn't see anybody else really doing it. And So great idea. The downside at the time was nobody else was really doing it the way I wanted to do it.
Yep.
And setting it up and structuring it the way I wanted to. And so it was really just learn from the ground up, on the job training, learn from your mistakes, lick your wounds. And that's how I got started. So I created Leasing to Buy in 2003. And, it took a couple of months to get my first house under contract, maybe 3 months. Coming up on 3 months, I guess, because there's no rule book back then either about how do you market for houses. Back in 03, the way you marketed for houses was either driving for dollars or you looked in the Star Telegram, the local newspaper, and see who has their house for sale. And you call them. That was all there was to marketing. Things have changed a lot since then. And so I would go and I would print all these buy owner ads. Buy Owner was the big website at the time. And I'd call every one of these people, hey, I saw your house was, you're selling your house, blah, blah. Would you want to do a lease purchase? And most of them told me to F off. They called my mom names, whatever, the whole thing. But every now and then somebody go, yeah, how does that work?
Yeah.
And I would literally go, I don't know. Click.
That's what I used
How
to
do
do.
I know? I'm making this crap up. So I got my first two houses, I remember, probably the first four, but I got the first two houses driving for dollars, like half a mile from my house, just driving along, saw for sale by owner sign. House is vacant. I called him up. You want to do lease purchase? Yeah, sure. I had no idea how to set the numbers, or I just winged it. And within just a few weeks, I had $3,500 cash, which at the time that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'd never seen that much cash except for maybe a few drug deals, but
They're a little bit more than $3,500 though.
It was, my stripping days, I got a lot more than $3,500 in cash because I had beautiful hair then. The hair, man, the women loved the hair. Yeah.
Well, I think what he just told you guys there is probably one of the most valuable lessons that you'll ever hear on a channel like this. Is that he jumped in, he started doing it. He didn't really know what he was doing, but he took that action, right? So new investors, they get paralyzed and they never take action. Sometimes you just have to jump in and just take it on the chin and embarrass yourself a few times before you realize, that you can actually learn how to do this in the field instead of just trying to listening to podcasts are good and YouTube channels are good, but you're going to have to get out there and try to do the business and kind of learn in the field. And that's what he's basically saying. He jumped out there and he started, and then, look at him now, right? Now, for the homeowner or for the listeners at home right now, there's a lot of them that are experienced, and then there's some that are brand new. So in simple terms, what is a lease option? Can you kind of break it down so they can kind of understand the process of what we're talking about here?
Yeah, it's super simple. It's so simple even I can do it. A lease option, and there's a few different types. There's the sandwich lease option,
Okay.
straight lease option, and a lease option assignment. And we'll talk about Texas in a little bit as the conversation flows. But a sandwich lease option you cannot do in Texas. But what that is where you are basically subletting the property. Okay? So you have a contract, an option to purchase that property from the owner for, let's just say, $170,000. Okay? And you're going to make payments of, say, $1,300 a month. Well, now you go out and market that, put a sign in the yard, hey, lease purchase, whatever, you market it for, say, $200,000 to the end buyer. Okay? They put, say, $10,000 down. They're paying you, say, $1,700 a month, but you're paying the owner $1,300. Okay, so you get the money down, and then you're getting that cash flow each month. Okay, and then when they go to cash, when they buy the house, you still have some equity in there, so it's a third profit center. Okay,
Correct.
On that equity. So there's three profit centers on that. The straight lease option, which is super simple, is simply this: if you have a house that you might want to rent out, okay, just a rental house, for example, just your own house or rental house. Well, instead of renting it, you want to get higher quality people in there. You want to make maybe a little more money monthly, and you want more than just a deposit. You want to get some serious money down. You just set it up as just a lease purchase. So instead of just saying, hey, you can rent it for $1,500 a month with the $1,500 deposit, you set it up as a lease purchase and you've got a price, top price you think it should appraise for, the top price for, say, whatever, $8,000 down, $10,000 down, whatever, and maybe $1,600 a month or $1,650 a month. So now you're getting non-refundable money down. There's no deposit. You're getting more on the cash flow, typically on the monthly. And then when they go to buy you out, they're buying it at full price, no haggling, no commissions.
Yep.
So that's a straight lease option. Now, a lease option assignment, which is what we've done over 600 just in Tarrant County. And a lease option assignment is where I get with the owner and I offer him full price. Okay, so I sign a contract with the owner for full price, and I set the terms, the price, the monthly, and the owner sees all this. So now I've got a contract, okay, to lease purchase this house for, let's say, $208,000 as a number, $208,000, $1,700 a month, whatever. Well, in the assignment, there's only one profit center. That's the assignment fee, just like on a wholesale deal. If you've got a wholesale contract, someone pays you an assignment fee, that's it. You're done, right? Same thing with this, except I'm not assigning it to a cash buyer. I'm assigning it to a family that isn't quite ready to finance.
Yep.
So they're paying me my assignment fee for this contract, okay? They're paying full price for the house, but they're willing to do that because they're not in a position to negotiate because they can't pay cash, okay? So I just tie it up for full price, okay, and then assign my contract to the family that cannot quite get financing yet.
Yep. I mean, it's a good way. So basically, you're just wholesaling, and so then, in a way, you're just wholesaling the contract.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, and so in Texas, there's a big issue. Which ones can we do? And I think you pointed out we're not allowed to do the sandwich lease option, which is basically, guys, it gets the name from your sandwich the investor in between the seller of the house and your tenant buyer, right?
Right.
And when he's talking about selling the house, you're working with these tenant buyers while they're in the process of making the payments to get their credit restored, and then you're going back and getting them to finance out is how you're getting cashed out, or what's your main strategy to make your big payoff on the back end?
See, that's the thing, Connor, is there's no payout on the back end.
Okay.
So on the assignment fee, on the assignment, lease option assignment, there's just one pay zone, one pay area.
Okay.
That's your assignment fee. So once I get my assignment fee, I drop out, and now the contract's between the buyer and the seller. I'm done.
Okay.
Now, having said that, I'm not really done in the sense that the way we've built and structured leasing to buy is we have credit improvement in place, and we have everything in place to help them get financing along the way. So as soon as they're ready for finance, we've got the finance companies, title company, everything, credit improvement company, everything's in place, which is why our success rate of people getting into the house and actually getting financed is over 98%.
Wow.
Which is unheard of, because if you ask around, and I don't know where you get the figures, but most people will hear about 20% of people that get into a lease purchase actually buy. Well, the reason is because they didn't know there was nobody there to help them. Yeah. They weren't vetted properly. They probably weren't ready to get into a lease purchase to begin with. Yeah. DTI was too high. Their life situation was not stabilized yet. Whatever. And so we vet them to get in before they get into the house. But there's only one payday, and that's when we assign our contract. And we typically get about 4% down.
Okay, that's pretty good. So one of the things you did, you built leasing to buy. Let's talk about your website there and kind of explain what that is, because it's national now, right? And you can And so go ahead and explain how you built that site and what it's used for and how people can work with you through your leasing to buy site.
Yeah, with leasing to buy, we built it again from the ground up, where the people that come into the mentorship have access to the site. It has 90 plus hours of videos in the back, tons of marketing materials that we use, and that's something that I'm kind of known in the industry for doing things I didn't mean to, just things that are not normal. Like, for example, pick anything. Building a company that a lease option company, specifically a lease option company, and having that company designed so it actually helps almost everybody get financing. And also Texas Lease Options. Nobody wants to touch that. Well, we hit it head on. And also the fact that that our numbers are set in our lease options, for the financing. So there's so many things that people. Oh, and the marketing pieces. I do something that was unheard of in the industry. I would market to listed houses, because when I was trying to figure out how do I get houses 14 years ago, I finally decided, well, who wants to sell their house?
Yep.
Then it finally hit me. Oh yeah, people that are selling their house. They probably want to sell the house.
Could be. So
I started marketing to listed houses. Most of the houses we've done were listed at the same time, but I had a very specific mail piece, a trifold brochure we developed over the years that got a great return. It wasn't your typical, yellow letter, little postcard, whatever. It was a very specific trifold brochure, very professional, that listed homeowners would get. And so that was unheard of in the industry. But so we have all of our marketing pieces on the back of leasing to buy, and the people that come into the mentorship get to have full access to that, which is huge because it's been around for so long. It already has that, if you will, kind of traction and search engines, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's our website, and people get to utilize that are in the mentorship. So it's just a massive tool for people to come on board.
Yeah, guys, go check out his website there at Leasing to Buy. Now, let's be a little bit selfish here and talk about, because Texas, it's got this cloud looming over above, right? Can you kind of break down like your research and like how you kind of figured out that, you can do what you're doing? Because most people just don't take the initiative to go figure it out. And, you've kind of gone through the process. So kind of explain.
Yeah. I'll show you exactly. I'll tell you what, this is going to be totally unprofessional, people, but don't cut this, Connor. Promise me you won't cut this.
He's out of here.
I just got back a couple of weeks ago from a speaking gig. I was in, I don't know, Houston or someplace. I'm going to show you something. Hold on. Give me 30 seconds. No, not even that. Hold on. All right, here we go. All right.
Speed Demon.
Had to get a prop. It's actually not a prop. It's the real. Yeah, it is a prop. All right. So what happened was in 2005. Let me go back to 2000. In 2000, there wasn't a whole lot of regulation about contract for deed. Now, contract for deed, for those who are listening that may not know, there's owner finance, contract for deed, and lease options. And owner finance, although contract for deed is it is owner finance, your typical owner finance is the buyer gets a note, a mortgage created by the seller, okay, and they get the deed, which is the title of the house. Contract for deed, they get the mortgage, the note, but the investor or the seller doesn't give them title until they pay off the note.
Correct.
It's a contract for that deed. Well, in 2000, what happened was a tornado went through downtown Fort Worth and took out an area east of downtown that a group of investors had sold to Hispanics, okay, undocumented Hispanics, on contract for deed. So when the tornado hit, these people had no house, they lost their down payment, and then it turns out, the investors, they weren't really paying insurance. So Mike Moncrief went to work with an attorney there in Fort Worth off Hewlin Street, Charles. I know the attorney. I've met with him. He's very brilliant. He's reviewed all my stuff as well. And they drafted a tremendous amount of legislation for Title II, Chapter 5 of the Property Code. Okay, Title II, Chapter 5 is about conveyances. It's basically about contract for deed. Okay. So what happened then? It became such a pain to do contract for deed. Investors stopped doing them. And really the main reason they were doing contract for deed is the idea was that if someone defaulted, you just foreclose. I mean, you just evict, you don't foreclose, okay? So now let's fast forward to 2005. The laws cover, landlord and tenant laws. They cover contract for deed, but they don't cover lease. They don't say anything about lease options. So they drafted a preliminary legislation simply stating that a lease option was an executory contract, and you couldn't do an executory contract that had a mortgage on it, okay, or a lien on it. So that was basically going to put me out of business. So at the time, tons and tons of investors contacted their representatives and everything, faxing them, because that goes way back, faxing, emailing, calling, everything. And finally, they made major amendments to the original bill. And the final bill, was very, very workable. So when the final bill was passed and signed by Rick Perry, I went to work, staying up till about 2:30 in the morning, going through the bill and line iteming every part of it, and going back to then I had to take that and go over to contract for go over to property code and see, well, how does this fit in? It was a little bit of a pain, having to read it, whatever, sew it together and figure out how it all worked. But at the end of the day, I was able to see, this is very workable. We've got to do this, and this. So then I went to work making those changes, then working with more than one attorney, more than one firm, to have our contracts redraft, not totally redraft, but making those changes, this and that. And so I ended up spending about $30,000 in legal fees to have the contracts done. Yeah. And so the law really didn't change us. It really didn't slow us down any. But there were things that, for example, if there's a mortgage on the property, the owner has to disclose that mortgage information, okay, and state when the payments are being made. The buyer has to be able to see that the house is not in foreclosure. The seller has to have feasible title. Well, Connor, I can't tell you how many real estate attorneys, even to this day, 11 years later, that I have to explain to real estate attorneys the difference between fee simple title and a mortgage. Because they think, you can't do a lease option on a house with a mortgage because the seller has to have fee simple title. Fee simple title is how we hold title in the state of Texas. That's how they hold title in almost every state. It has nothing to do with a mortgage, okay? It's two separate things. But because the seller has to have feasible title, you cannot do a sandwich lease option in Texas per the law.
Okay.
Because remember, we were talking about, how we described a sandwich lease option, SLO, how it is you're sandwiched between there.
Yep.
It's an A, B, and BC transaction. Okay. Well, on the BC side, it's you, the investor, and the C is the is the end buyer. Okay, the seller is the A, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So it's A, B, C. Well, on that BC transaction in the sandwich lease option, you're the seller, right? You're selling a lease option to the end buyer. You don't have fee simple title. The owner does. Okay, so you can't do a sandwich lease option in Texas.
Yep.
Now you can do an assignment because you're not the seller on the contract. You're not selling. You're not acting as a seller.
Okay.
You're just assigning your contract, right?
Yep.
So you can do an assignment all day long. But there's things you can't do, like you can't lease option a house that's in default of the mortgage. Okay. You cannot do a sandwich lease option on a house that has a lien other than the mortgage. Okay. So you can't do a lease option on a house that has, say, a HELOC. Okay. Or mechanics lien. That type of thing. There's the big confusion is people think you can't do them over 180 days.
Okay. Yep.
All it is that if it's less than 180 days, there's nothing special you have to do about it. Nothing special. But if it's more than 180, less than 3 years or 36 months, then you have to have the verbiage that the law requires, etc. The confusion comes in with, and I don't know if can you see this okay?
Yep, we got it.
Okay. This is Title II, Chapter 5 of the Property Code in Texas. Okay? So what happens is people think that all of this is for a lease option. It's not. The law is very clear and states that only 6 sections of all this even apply to a lease option. It even goes further and says, almost like for clarification, all these following sections don't even apply to a lease option. But yeah, people can get confused and think this is about a lease option. No, there's some sections that do apply, but this is about contract for deed.
Yep.
And so that's a lot of confusion that people still have about Texas lease options.
Now, what would happen? Let's go a little bit deeper. What would happen if it went past that period between 18 months and 3 years? What would happen?
Then, per the law, it basically becomes a contract for deed.
Okay.
It would become a contract for deed that the seller wouldn't be able to abide by the law on, because there's requirements in there specifically for a contract for deed that have nothing to do with the lease option, such as you have to provide amortization, a yearly amortization. Well, there's no amortization on a lease option.
Yep.
Right? How do you do that? So basically, you just don't want to do it beyond three years. Plus, here's the thing, Connor. One of the reasons our success rate's so high on getting people financed is because we do 12-month contracts. The longer the term of a lease option, if you go, say, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, the likelihood of that buyer buying that property goes down dramatically, Yep. Because they've been there for so long. Life happens. In 5 years, they've either kids have moved or they've had kids, they've need a different house, job relocation, something has happened. And, they just don't want to buy the house anymore. So we keep it very short and we get them financed as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so clearly, guys, he's done his research. That's pretty impressive, to be honest, John, that you would actually have the laws come out and you instantaneously just like, I'm going to figure this out and make sure, because, obviously it's your livelihood, but not many people are going to take that action. So
I did it that night. As soon as it passed, boom.
You didn't want to wait a little bit?
Nah.
So guys, if you're looking to do this, especially in Texas, clearly you need to go talk to an expert like John. He has events that we'll talk about coming up, but also you can reach him online. Now let's talk about, if they do want to do it, some of the benefits and different opportunities that come up from being able to have this lease option club in your bag, as you would say, right? So for wholesalers who are looking for traditionally low price properties, which everybody's looking for right now, if they could wholesale these properties that people want retail for using lease option strategy that you're teaching, it'd open up a big part of business that they're not capitalizing on right now. So explain to them, the wholesalers right now, the benefit to doing lease options.
Oh, yeah. If you're a wholesaler not doing lease options, you are really, really losing a ton of money because you're paying for the leads, however you're doing it, whether it's through multiple avenues such as bayonet signs, direct mail, which is the most expensive way, by the way. Yeah. Whatever you're utilizing, you're bringing leads in. Now, I do wholesaling as well. Okay, so I'm not anti-wholesaling, but I realize that you've got to have, if you're doing wholesaling, you're going to bring leads in where they're just not going to take 50 cents on the dollar. Yeah. I'm looking right here. We were late on this call, my fault, because I was talking to a seller. Here's just these are less than a week old. Of all these are lease option leads. Okay, these are very nice houses, move-in ready, 250, 300, $680,000 houses. They're not going to take 50 cents on the dollar. Okay, and if you're getting these leads, you're paying for these leads, and these leads come in. If you're a wholesaler, these are dead to you. These are totally dead leads. Okay, whereas we can come in and make whatever the case may be, 3 or 4% on each one of these, and have, again, no risk, no credit, no money deal. So if you're a wholesaler not doing lease options, you're really, really missing out on a huge portion of your leads. Because I've done enough marketing and enough wholesaling to know that, for me anyway, I don't know, probably 60, I'd say between 60 and 70% of the leads I get, they laugh at me if I offer them, 60 cents on the dollar even,
Yep.
Because it's a different mindset of the seller. You're talking about a wholesale. The seller is going to sell at 60 cents or 50 cents on the dollar. They're in the mindset of they're just done. The next step is here's the keys, take it over.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, guys, now you have a full spectrum to work with. So you can work with pretty houses or ugly houses. Now, when you're looking at these lease options, what makes a good lease option deal? Obviously, you just listed some higher price point properties. Is this a strategy clearly you don't want to do on maybe like a $15,000 low end price point property?
Yeah.
It's more so because, guys, 3 to 4% on a 300, 400 grand house, you're making pretty good money, right? So what's your main focus when you're targeting these houses?
Yeah, we're looking at obviously nice houses, move-in ready, don't need repair, and my price range. I really don't want to mess with anything below 150,000. That's not a hard stop, but I really prefer over 180, 225. What I found through 600 lease option deals is going back, years and years ago, I was trying to figure out what are the deals that didn't work out. And almost every single time, it was the $80,000 house, the $100,000 house, where they had a whopping, maybe $3,500 into it, and it just wasn't even that great of a neighborhood. Things would, it was just kind of a cruddy house, So I look for nice houses, nice areas. Ideally, if you're starting off, I would look at a school district. Where do people want to live because of the kids? Because most of the people that come to you for lease option have a family. So I would look at good school districts.
Okay. Let's kind of break through the whole process here real quick on a 30,000 square foot view. So you're marketing to pretty houses, or you have just leads coming in. It's not a wholesale deal. You may have attempted to get it with some type of low equity purchase like a subject to, or you may not understand how to do this. So now your other option is a lease option, right? So you go into a normal purchase agreement to buy the house directly just as a normal sale, or you explain to the homeowner what you're going to be doing when you start the negotiation on the front side?
Fantastic question. I don't do a shell game. I'm very, very careful about that, because as soon as you mislead the seller, you've lost them on any transaction. So I explain when they come to me and I talk to them, they know right off the bat that, that I'm not moving in the house.
Okay.
I'm not going to make any payments on this $680,000 house. We're going to tie it up with. We're going to put a lease purchase contract together. We'll set the numbers, set the terms. They review them. That looks good. Here's the contract. They sign it. Then we go to market it. We go to market our contract, and they know that exactly what we're doing. They know that we're going to have that end buyer that we're assigning it to. Okay, and so there's no shell game about. Well, the seller sees this, but he doesn't see this, or the buyer sees this, but they don't see that. We don't do that at all. Everybody sees everything. It's all very transparent. And so they know that when I say tie it up, I hate to even say the term tie it up with the contract. I'm not tying it up. We put a contract together with them. But something I do that's also unique is that I tell the seller, listen, well, we're going to, we have this under contract. We're going to market it. Have at it. Market it yourself. Market it through an agent. Market it for sub-owner. I don't care. And owners love that. The fact that we're not saying, okay, you can't do anything with it, Yeah. So it's different than a wholesale deal in that sense where you're locking it up and that thing's under contract, okay? Now on a sandwich lease option, again, you can't do those in Texas, but on a sandwich lease option, that's a different dynamics, right? Because now you're tying it up, and you're probably going to file a memorandum of option with the courthouse, right? Now you're clouding the title, you're locking it up, That baby's yours, okay? But again, I focus on lease option assignments. So most of what I talk about and explain is for assignments, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, everybody sees everything.
So when you're talking to the seller, it's a pretty good selling point, right? So that you tell them, look, you're going to have this property, I guess, for rent for a year, and then most likely they're going to refinance out. We have a 98% finance out rate. So they're not looking on the back end. I think you mentioned earlier that they're not going to have realtor fees. And so on a $500,000 house, you're looking at 6%.
They're going to save 30 grand right off the bat.
Yeah, so that's a huge selling point. Plus, they're going to get the cash flow for a year, and they're going to get some money up front. So how does that work? So you would say, Mr. Homeowner, your $400,000 house, what if I put a tenant in here at X amount that's going to have the option to buy your property, and he's going to put down $8,000 that you're going to get in your pocket, and then you're going to go out and try to find someone for 20 down and put the spread in there? Or how does that work?
Okay, good question. And this is one of the things that I've gotten down to, I guess the science I don't even think about is the numbers. I can do them very, very quickly. Let's say they're asking, let's just say $300,000 for their house, okay? Well, I'm going to typically put that down payment at about 4%, okay? So let's call it $12,000. Well, I would like to raise the price of that house so that by part of what my fee is going to be, so that it eats into their equity as little as possible, right? But I can't just raise it, say in this case $312,000, because it's not going to appraise, okay? All things being equal, it's not going to appraise. I want to set it to be very close to what I think it's going to appraise for, say in the next year. So what I'll do is I may set it, say, and not to confuse anybody with numbers, but I may set it, say 305.9, okay? So I'm getting 12,000 down. I'm going to set it, say, let's just say 306, just for an easy number. So I'm going to market it at 306, okay? They put 12,000 down, and so now the owner's starting point is at 296. They're asking 300, but I put, $6,000 on top. They put 12,000 down, 296 starting off, right? Or I'm sorry, 290. What's that? 12. So 294. I'm sorry, 294. What I typically do, Connor, is I'll give the owner 1,000, maybe up to 2,000 of what I'm going to get, because there's no deposit, right? Now I used to not give the owner anything, but now I give them $1,000 of my fee, maybe 2,000. So let's just say I gave them $2,000. Okay. Well, now they're at $296, $296,000, right? That's pretty good for someone asking $300,000 for the house, and they're saving, $18,000 on commission.
And they're going to cash flow it for some time.
Yeah, they're going to cash flow pretty nicely each month. Yeah.
Okay, now how do you handle? Clearly you're going to have objections with the seller. I'm going to have someone in my house, right? What happens if they damage it? Who's responsible? What happens if that tenant buyer moves in there for 8 months and damages the property and doesn't buy the house? Is it just the same situation as if they normally rented it and it's on their side?
And that goes down to where I really don't do a sales pitch with the owner. I just, I don't go at it from the angle of I've got to convince them, and that's key as well. But I do explain to them, listen, that is so incredibly rare. It just almost never happens. One, because we turn down houses. We vet everything. We vet the house, so we may not approve. We may not decide that your house is a good fit. If it's under a certain price range, we don't look at those houses. We vet the house. Okay, we'll even vet the owner if their situation seems like it's way too tight and I'm not comfortable putting someone in their house. Hey, listen, I can't help you. So I tell the owner this. Okay. Same thing on the buyer. We vet them from the front end so well that it just is not going to happen. It just is almost a complete improbability, because these are people that are very close to buying, and they're not just going to walk away from that kind of money they're putting into the property, Yep. And plus they're in our pipeline to get financed. So it's just almost unheard of.
Okay. Now clearly John's done a lot of educating on his own, and he clearly takes action at a high level. So for a new investor, obviously they get shiny object syndrome. They're going to say, oh, I like this podcast. I want to go do lease options. Let's give them a realistic expectation. How many homeowners that you talk to, like, for example, last year we tracked about 1 out of 15 leads that came in, we were able to monetize. What is the actual conversion rate to a deal that you're going to close, so that because guys, you're going to have to work hard no matter what you do, and you can be successful whatever you do. But I think some people have unrealistic expectations. How many homeowners do you have to talk to kind of get one of these deals closed?
Well, for someone starting off, obviously the number's not going to be anywhere near as high as mine. But for me, if I get 15 leads, then I'm probably going to get minimum half those under contract.
Wow.
Yeah. For someone starting off, though, I would say you're going to get about out of 15 leads. Again, this is for lease options, okay? Out of 15 leads, you're going to get, I would dare say 2 to 3 under contract.
Yeah, man, because he's going to get a higher conversion because he speaks with conviction. He knows what he's talking about. If you go in and you try to pitch, this type of transaction to a homeowner and you're fumbling over your words, you don't even know what you're talking about, clearly your chances of succeeding are going to be not that great. Same thing with subject to guys and presenting offers with, 0% interest and creative financing guys. You have to get out there and figure how to produce an offer to that homeowner where they can kind of have some faith in you that you know what you're doing. Otherwise, if they feel a little cold feet, they're not going to go through with it. Something that I think would be interesting to a lot of people, including myself, is if they don't want to have to go through and learn all this, do you have some type of referral program where they can just kick the lead to you and you pay them for the lead if it closes, or do you have anything set up like that? Because I know a lot of people are busy. They may get the leads. They don't know how to go put it together, or they've tried and they're having a hard time doing it. Or do you partner with people, or kind of explain how your system works?
Yeah, what I do is, I've got my training program.
Yep.
And in order for me to joint venture with anybody, at the very minimum, they have to have my training program, because I just have too much going on to joint venture with anybody that doesn't speak the same lingo I do.
Yep.
So once you have the materials and everything, you go through my training, then we're on the same page at least, okay? So when I talk about my seller price sheet, they're not going, "What are you talking about?" We're on the same page. So I may be kind of a rare breed, but I don't joint venture unless someone at least has my materials. I prefer that they really go to a 2-day event, which I have a few of those a year, because then it's 2 days of just fire hoses, boom, and then you really know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So you actually have a couple of those coming up in October, from what I understand, right? So
yeah, we've got. I haven't done a live event since October of 2015. Connor, is in San Antonio. It was the last one I did. Last year was a complete debacle for me, which if your name was Oprah, we'd sit down and talk about it. But you could tear into what last year was all about, and I ended up sobbing and.
That's not good.
But no, since these are the first 2-day live events I've done in been 2 years. So we've got October 7th and 8th in Fort Worth. It's actually in Sundance Square. I don't know if you ever get down there or not, but it's actually in Sundance Square. And then October 21st, 22nd in Houston, Texas. So this is 2017, so I don't know how long it takes for you to push these out. But October 7th and 8th, Fort Worth. October 21st, 22nd in Houston, Texas.
We'll get this out before then for sure. We'll put this out on YouTube probably this week. Now, I know a lot of people, whenever they start to look into a new strategy, the big block is they're not familiar with it and they're scared of contracts. Always they're scared that they want to make sure they have the right paperwork. Is this something that they can get in your program, or that they can get going to your event? Because I know that this is what holds a lot of people back when it comes to subject to or doing any type of creative financing. This is what I consistently see people. That's their block point.
Yeah, with you're only as good as your contracts. You're only as strong as your contracts. And obviously, with my training materials, they get all the contracts, not just for Texas, but for other states as well. People sometimes think that I only do Texas. No, it doesn't matter what state. But one of the things that just kind of is one of my pet peeves is every now and then I'll go to a real estate forum, just kind of poke around. And one of my pet peeves is when people say, "Hey, where can I get free contracts for whatever?" And in my opinion, if you're going to use free contracts, you might as well just be going to Staples or Office Depot for your contracts. Go, "Hey, here's my legal document." And so, you're only as good as your contracts. But yeah, they get all that in the training materials for sure. And the 2-day events are just amazing. And man, I'm hoping you can make it to the one in Fort Worth. It's gonna be off the hook, man. It is. It is so dialed in. It's so intense. So amazing, man. It's gonna be great.
I know that y'all do like live calls during it, or what's
Yeah.
kind of, so they're gonna
Yeah.
actually, yeah.
So I'll have people in the audience bring lead sheets, they filled out, and rather than just helping them with them, go, oh, here's what you could do with it. I'll get on the phone with the seller, and walk through them with them, and then they'll see me. I'll take that lead, talk to the seller, okay, and then they'll see me on the screen. I'll go to my computer and they can see all this on the big screen. Pull up my I've got a 3 email series campaign. They'll see that, boom, boom, boom. Go out to the seller right there live. They'll see me put the numbers together like that. Send them to the seller. So we're doing live deals in the training.
That's pretty cool. I mean, sometimes all it takes is for someone to see it happen, actually see it, then they can believe it, and then they actually take the energy to go out there and try to achieve, the same type of success. But if they don't actually know that it's possible, they kind of reserve that energy and don't go forward. Now, guys, I mean, he's talking about he's going to give you his contracts. He said earlier he spent $30,000 on his own money. I promise you, it's not going to be that much to go to his live event.
No, it's only, to come to the live event, it's only $29,000.
Okay, see, I told you we give you good deals here on the channel. Yeah. And I mean,
it's on Groupon.
I mean, $1,000 savings, $1,000, right? Now, I mean, is there anything we didn't go over that you think is really important about the lease option? I mean, not just in Texas in general. I know a lot of people ask you that because you're from Texas, and that's the big, kind of sticking point here that, oh, you can't do them. But clearly you can. You just can't really do the sandwich lease option. Is there any really important questions that we didn't kind of cover? Because this isn't a strategy that I personally do, but I'd like to do, and I probably should have been doing more of. So any words of wisdom right now that we didn't cover?
Send me all your skinny leads, Connor. Come on, we're neighbors. Come on.
You just said that you don't partner unless I'm in your program.
Well, you got my materials, So yeah, well, I'll give you a gift card I'll give you a gift card somewhere. Just I know you know how to filter leads, so I think if you're going to lease options, you've got to understand the numbers. Even though I can do the numbers, I mean, immediately, less than 30 seconds, boom, I can do the numbers in my head. You don't want to set. One of the things I see people do, and even there's some professional, people that are pretty well known that do this. They'll take and they just pull the option price, what they're going to market at, totally out of the rear end, okay, without any thought or concern about the appraisal value. Yep. So they just market it just way out of whack, okay, and they just set it up for failure, whether they meant to or not, So the numbers are doing the numbers right are key for sure. The contracts have to be right, because keep in mind when these people go into close, the lender is going to see the contract. The title company is going to see the contract, okay? And so your contracts are very important. My contracts explain who's going to pay what closing cost, okay? So it's not just people go, oh, my contracts are, they don't like mine because they're 17 pages long or whatever. Well, guess what? The lender needs to see this stuff. The title company needs to see this stuff. Plus, there's a lot of CYA in my contracts too. Just having a one-page document, I'm just not that comfortable with doing because it doesn't cover the CYA you need, doesn't cover what the title company or the lender sees. So you got to have the right documents for sure.
I think that's really important. The appraised value part of the transaction, even if you're just fixing and flipping houses retail. I see this all the time with our students that, many times you can go sell a house for $240, even though it's not going to appraise for more than like $200, $210, but they don't understand that the bank makes the ultimate call. If they're not going to lend on it,
right,
you're not going to be able to get the deal done. So what he's saying is, like, say that the house is only going to appraise at $300, but they're selling it at $340 and taking $20,000 down. Well, what would happen in that situation if they go to refinance and there's that gap between the appraised value and what it sold at? They're not going to be able to do it, right?
Right. Yeah. And the thing is, and it's you've got to set it. That's why I'm careful when I set the numbers to be And I explained to sellers, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you exactly what's going to be worth in 12 months, but I can tell you pretty darn close. We've done over 600 deals, and there's only been, I know there was there was, I think, 3 houses that didn't hit appraised value, or we were just a little bit above them. And so that's pretty good for 600 houses, you know. So
That's exceptional. I mean, like, do you sit down with the homeowner and kind of say, hey, look, over the past couple of years, we've been going up 8 to 10%. Do you kind of hedge against that and say, you know, we can maybe push it a little bit and get you a little bit higher, and by the time 12 months goes by, we'll appreciate into that number, or do you avoid that?
I used to, and now no, I don't. First of all, just so everybody's listening or watching knows, I almost never meet the seller and I almost never meet the buyer. It's all done remotely. So
that's how we do our wholesaling business too. If it's all virtual,
yeah, you really don't need to. You know, I've had so many times the seller says, "Well, don't you need to come see the house?" No, I know what a bathroom looks like. Pretty good, you know. Plus, these houses are all online anyway. You know, I can flip through and go, I see, I'm looking at your living room right now. You know, it's not like a wholesale deal where someone has to go through there and go, oh, I didn't know the left half was missing. You know.
Yeah.
But as far as on the appraised value, I don't look at a kind of that factor that you're talking about. I used to look at about 2% a year, blah blah blah. Now I don't. Now I just look at, okay, what are houses selling for in that area, price per square foot, and that I get it normally just a little bit above that, just a hair above that.
Yeah, so I mean, man, you gave us some really good information today, John. I appreciate you coming on here. And I think a lot of it has to do with you just open with the homeowner, first of all, because a lot of people, I think, struggle in this business, whether it's wholesaling or whatever they're doing. They completely misrepresent what they're doing, and then they try to, you know, cover it up later. So, like, it's going to be hard for you to show that house to a potential tenant buyer if you've misled the homeowner on the front end. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to be very transparent there. And now you said this podcast you said we've got 4 hours. Is that right?
Yeah, we got about 6 hours actually left to go. So you need to go take a bathroom break.
Yeah, well, I haven't taken a shower today. I was actually going to take a shower, and then I don't know if you want the camera in there. I don't know what kind of webcam this what kind of web show this is, but
well,
I tell you, something because I figure I assume we're coming up on, you know, ready to wrap up. We've gone 54 minutes here. Something that I have mentioned before on other podcasts that I'll share here is one of the things I'm working on is the Guru Mindset, which will be a podcast and video, you know, show like what you have.
Cool.
My mic will be obviously much bigger than yours, but
it's not going to be as shiny.
I'll shine my mic every day, baby. That's a show in itself.
This big, you can't even see your head behind it.
Yeah, it's gonna be like, welcome to Guru Mindset.
we got big mics and do big deals.
Big mics for big deal. That's right. But I'm gonna keep you posted as we get ready to launch out here in a few months. I've got to finish up the 2-day events, but I'm stoked about Guru Mindset because I'm going to be interviewing people such as yourself, Mitch, Steve, and other people, but not just talking about their methodology, what they're doing. We'll hit on that a little bit, but really focus on that moment of time when it was their oh shit, what am I going to do? Yeah. Time of their life, you know, and you know, we've all had that. And I think too many times we see shows or hear podcasts, whatever, where it talks about how grandiose and beautiful everything is. And what they don't know is that behind the scenes story, which I think that's where the magic happens. You know, when I do a lease option deal, that wasn't magic. All I did is email a contract. It was, you know, in my case, what did I have to go through to get there? What did you have to go through to get to where you are? What did, you know, I told you I'm going to be with Tim Mai here later this week for a few days. You know, his story is fascinating, which if you want to interview him, I need to connect you to his story is fascinating.
Glad to have him on. Yep.
About how he escaped from Vietnam.
Yep.
And that's a fascinating story. But anyways, that's what I'm working on, Guru Mindset. And something I'll say real quickly for those listening that are just starting off, something that I used to train my students with, I kind of developed accidentally, but I think it's so important to understand, is what I call the buck system. And I don't know if you can see. Can you see my whiteboard and my crap back here?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, sometimes I'll do a training with my mentorship people and talk about whatever the deals are working on, whatever. But the buck system is this, B-U-C-K, and this will allow you to learn anything that Connor teaches you about wholesaling or whatever, anything that I would teach you about lease options, how to just bust through that those comfort zones. And I've got a whole presentation I do, but I'll keep it short for this. Is the buck system. B is basics. Guys, learn the basics as fast as possible. I could teach the basics of lease options in 30 minutes. Okay, boom, now let's go. Don't ask about all the little piddly questions. Okay, learn the basics as fast as possible. Do something uncomfortable. Maybe doing something uncomfortable is cold calling people. Maybe it's talking to real estate agents, leasing agents, whatever the case may be. Something I did when I was starting off that was uncomfortable, even though I'm totally comfortable around people, was I went into new home construction. You know, they had the model homes.
Yep.
I went in with my business cards. Hey, I know you got a lot of people here looking to buy houses. Some of them can't qualify. Here's my card. How'd you like to make $2,000? Send me each one that can't qualify. Send it to me. I'll pay you $2,000. And I got some deals out of that, because guess what? They have houses. Those buyers have houses. So I did something uncomfortable. Do something creative, like go to a new home construction or whatever. One of the things I do that I teach people is this is creative, if you will, is the business card. And this says I pay $1,000 for low equity leads. Okay. And it says the same thing on the back side. Super easy, super simple business card. Okay.
Yep. That's nice.
Have a business card like this made up and go to real estate groups. And when they have, hey, okay, who's got a deal? You stand up and go, hey, everybody, my name's Connor. I pay $1,000 for low equity leads. Guys, I know you got a ton of wholesalers in here. You're getting leads in, don't know what to do with. They need full price. I pay $1,000. Come see me at the end of Dennis's meeting. I'm in the back of the room, whatever. Yeah. Do something creative. And here's the final piece, guys, the K in buck. And this is where you get paralysis of analysis. K is knowledge. Knowledge comes in two forms. It's either, oh my gosh, I need that right now. Or it's, oh, that's interesting, I'll keep that in mind. And what happens is people think that all knowledge is, oh my gosh, I need that right now. And it's not.
Yep.
So as you're getting knowledge, you have to figure out, go back to the B. Where does this stack onto the basics? Does it add on to the basics, or is it like way out there somewhere that I don't need to know it right now? Okay. For example, if you're starting off in real estate and you're going to go to Connor to learn wholesaling, okay, and hairstyle tips, okay, if you're going to learn wholesaling, you don't say, Connor, how do I learn wholesaling? And then the next day someone tells you how much it costs to, how much per peer for a foundation.
Yep.
That's not crap you need to know right now. You need to know the basics. Okay?
Exactly.
So learn the basics. And so as you're getting that knowledge, you got to be very clear on what you need to know now and what's like, oh, that's interesting, I'll keep that in mind,
No, I think that's really good advice. And the guru mindset, I think you're going down the right path with that, because I think there's this huge entitlement mindset right now. So people come see you speak, right? They show up, they watch you, they see where you're at now, but they don't see, what goes on behind the scenes. They didn't see you up the night that the bill came out till 2:30 in the morning. They don't see the countless work or the hours that people put in working to get to where they get to. So they're just seeing the present moment, wanting that lifestyle without having to work to get it. So if they don't have the right mindset when they jump in, first second it gets tough, they're going to get beat down, they're going to sleep in, pull the covers up, and they're not going to be successful. So I'm interested, waiting for that to come out. I'll listen to that myself. John, go ahead and give them. So your website's Leasing to Buy. You want to give them your number or your email in case they want to reach out to you?
Yeah. My business side is Leasing to Buy. My training side is Lease Option Classes. We just switched over to a very temporary site, but anyway, it's Lease Option Classes. My email address is simply john@leasingtobuy.com. And my phone number, which is on everything, is 817-980-0068. And I'm pretty dang easy to get a hold of. And my phone number, people are still shocked that I answer my phone. People call me about my materials or whatever. Well, it's just me. There's my phone right here. But yeah, you can go to Lease Option Class. You can call me, whatever. If you call me and I don't know the answer, I'll either make it up or tell you to call Connor and say, go bother him.
Do you have any, are you on YouTube or social media?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube. I think I've got a YouTube channel. I should really take better care of that. I'll tell you, all my videos I upload, my training videos and stuff, I actually upload to Vimeo, Vimeo. And that's just how it's been. But we will move some of them over to YouTube. So you can find me on YouTube, Vimeo. You can search on Vimeo. We've got a lot of stuff on there as well. I'm on Facebook. I don't do Facebook nearly as much as I should, but I am on Facebook. Normally saying, if I'm on Facebook, I'm normally saying something extremely improper.
When he's not blocked on Facebook, he means.
When I'm not, you know what? The first time I was on Facebook or messing with Facebook, one of my old buddies from high school, I didn't know how this whole thing worked. He said something, and of course I replied, and whatever I said, I thought was hysterical. And someone emailed me, not through Facebook, but emailed me and said, "John, you know everybody can see what you put on Facebook, right?" No, I didn't know that. Yeah. I do now.
But knowing you, it was you wouldn't have said anything out of line though, right?
Oh no, nothing out of line.
All right, guys. Well, you can probably go find. I mean, I know you do a lot of podcasts, so you can probably find him on YouTube. I know he's on Mitch Stevens' podcasts and some other ones out there. And guys, he's got these events coming in October. Check them out. John, grateful to have you on today. I appreciate you coming on here, and we'll see you.
Hey, Connor, wait before we sign out. Is this there's supposed to be a check?
Yeah, you're supposed to pay me. Oh wait, is this still recording? I'm sorry. Oh, you want me to pay you? Okay.
Hello.
I must have been confused. Is that how a lease option works?
Yeah, that's how it works. You leased my time.
But I get a little chunk of the upfront option, right? I thought I get $2,000 of that 3%, right?
Well, yeah, because it depends on how big that check is. Yeah.
Maybe I can lease option John on a different podcast and see if you can start a new business model.
There you go.
All right, well, guys, we'll see you on the next episode. John, appreciate you coming on here. And, guys, reach out to him if you have any interest in learning about lease options, not just in Texas but nationwide, but specifically in Texas. He didn't get the name of King of Lease Options for a reason. I mean, really, I don't know anybody better to teach you here in Texas and make sure you're doing it safely. John, appreciate you coming on.
Take care, Connor.
All right, man. Thanks.